Next, we get to hear Smart Brands Laboratory's growth story. Smart Brand Laboratory was founded in 2018 in Lithuania to shape the future of e-commerce. Today, they have grown to be an international player and, well, with partners all over the world. Let's welcome on stage Lukaševičius, CTO at Smart Brands Laboratory.
Thank you. Thank you. So, hi everyone. I hope that you still have energy after the lunch and you do not feel too sleepy. So, first of all, I would like to thank Staria for organizing this event and for, it's probably we're working with them for a year and a half, and that's the first time we're meeting in person, so that's really nice. So thanks for organization of this event, and thanks for giving this opportunity to share the story of what we're doing. So first things first, introduction. So yeah, my name is Justin, and if you would ask me, to describe myself or present myself in one sentence, I would say that I know how to code, So been doing that since the 1999, so for the more than 20 years. I have been building things, building applications, hacking stuff, then started to build different, teams. And, the last 10 years or so, I spent working as a CTO, Chief Technology Officer, in various different retail companies, where my responsibilities were mostly business development initiatives, digital transformation projects, data transformation projects, like various kind of ERP installations, CRM installations, data platforms, BIs, and all that stuff. And there is one thing that I have observed during those, let's say, last 10 years, that data and the way that the companies are treating data, if it's a first-class asset or it's not, because if you are treating it as a first-class asset, then the projects probably that you are doing within the company, they might be successful. And if you're not thinking about data and the data model and all that, it kind of then gets a bit risky. So one good example of a company where data is at the very core, let's say the very heart of the company, is Smart Brands Lab. So Smart Brands Lab, basically we're using tons of data to uncover the unfulfilled needs of the customers. So what do I mean by that? We are analyzing lots of trends in the market. We're analyzing the customer sentiments, searchers, what customers are looking for, and then through sipping, through the data, we're building the business cases, then building the products, manufacturing the products, and then we're introducing those products and selling online. So to make it a bit, let's say, simpler, and to a couple of examples what we are selling. So this is one of our top sellers. It's a tofu press. I think that we sold 15,000 of them this year. It really changed to know how we're eating tofu back home, in our family. Another example of the product is organic soap, our brand called Skin Said Yes. This is not for European market, but that's very popular in the United States. So whenever you're doing the outdoor camping and going with your big truck somewhere, then you have the possibility to buy our tent that's specifically designed to fit in that truck trunk. So yeah, and one of the newest additions to our portfolio of what we have is a brand called Grow Go. It's wooden toys built in the Montessori line. So we have 4 or 5 different of those items that you can say stitch together and then create some play area for your kids. So all of those, so basically we have more than 7 brands, and we have 70 or 80 of active products across different brand lines. And all of those products, they were built by analyzing data, by creating those product stories, product business cases, and then introducing them and selling online. So of course, the biggest channel where we're selling is Amazon, but that's not the only one. Just a quick technical profile of how Smart Brands Lab looks today. So yeah, we have a couple of 3 different legal entities in the Netherlands, in the United States, and in Lithuania. We have more than 30 employees, 10 VAT numbers, we're conducting business and the transactions in more than 10 different currencies. So we have 60 bank accounts, so lots of numbers, lots of digits, and when you need to reconcile that and to close the financial period, at the month's end. So it's a challenge. So yeah, and basically our transaction volumes were reaching something like 30K sales orders every month. On the other side, we have a list of modules that are in use as of today in our existing NetSuite setup. And out of those modules, probably I would like to point out two of them. So one is being NetSuite One World, that helps us to have a consolidated view and to have all of those different legal entities under one umbrella. And another module is Suite Analytics Connect. So us being data geeks and having lots of data, analyzing that, this particular module helps to extract all of the information from NetSuite ERP, and import into our data cloud, into our data platform for, let's say, further analysis. So those two modules, they really are important in our setup. So how we ended up there, so, and why this company needed ERP at all. So just I would like to recap the first years, as it was mentioned, the company was established in 2018, and like every startup, it's the most important mission for every startup is to validate the business idea, if the business model is working or no. So you cannot put ERP system, you cannot expect a process maturity at the very beginning of the company, and basically you are empowering your employees to solve various different challenges by just giving them company credit card, and then employees, they are purchasing different software as a service solutions, and I believe that you have this in your company as well. But when you have more than 20 of those business applications for projects management, for accounting, for all that, when you have more than 20 sales channels for B2B and B2C, and multiple jurisdictions, multiple legal entities, there is always a question that every startup it's asking itself, so are we earning or are we losing money, and that's a very tough question if you don't have any solution, any foundation in place. And if you are doing the data integration by just manually downloading files and combining all of that, and if you have multiple BI systems to analyze that, it's basically very hard to understand, do you have some money or no. So, I think this should look also familiar, whenever you're doing that reporting, before ERP systems, you're ending up with tons of different files with tons of different versions, So we have one file for master data of the products, another file for the inventory movement, the other file for budget, and then the fourth file for some kind of, sales results from different channels. And then you need to bring all of this together to make sense. And yeah, if you have a master reporting template, Excel template, and you are hitting the refresh pivot table, sometimes it takes more than a couple of hours. And in our cases, a couple of years ago, when we didn't have the ERP in place, basically, the reporting process took so long that the meetings, they started to get canceled. So imagine it's Monday morning, Monday 10 a.m. You need to have a recap of the last week, and data is not there. So you cannot understand. So that's the time, when our technical team, we landed, let's say, in Smart Brands Lab, and we started analyzing the situation. We started looking for first of all, data sources, just to understand what kind of data exists within the company. And yeah, ERP is any kind of ERP system. It's not only NetSuite. You need to have data. If you want to automate certain processes, first of all, you need to understand, where is the data. So what we did at the very beginning is we built a map of different systems, so it's very hard to see, but maybe it's not the point to go into the details. I believe that every company, every startup should have the same picture, the same map of systems of business applications used within the company, grouped in different categories, and then with the processes between those different applications. You need to uncover the data movements that are not so obvious in the beginning. So basically, you cannot begin any digital transformation project like ERP system setup without understanding what kind of data you have and how to combine those different data silos together. So for us, it took a couple of months, and after during that analysis, we identified the key systems systems that we need like to integrate and that we wanted to get data from those systems and import into NetSuite for further analysis. So we grouped those in different blocks, different categories. So as I said, like as I mentioned, we have like multiple sales channels, like we're mostly selling on Amazon, but like there were some smaller sales channels present too. So you need to get all of data from there. Then us being e-commerce company, it's strange, but yeah, we do not have our own warehouse. We're using lots of 3PL providers, like third-party logistics providers across the globe, in Netherlands, United States, and like it's not something that, and we're changing them. So in the beginning of the year, we're starting, let's say, with one provider, and then we're ending with totally new provider at the beginning. So still you have lots of that information that need to import. So one thing is that, yeah, we kind of did this map of systems that we want to integrate. And on the other hand, we chose Oracle NetSuite as our ERP system. Why NetSuite? Why Oracle? Basically, it's a cloud-based solution and global solution. So one thing that we were looking for was the localization. So NetSuite, they had localizations for United States and for the Netherlands already, let's say, built in. And thanks to Staria and Vinted, we also had the localization for Lithuania. So kind of we had all of our companies that we had, they were covered within NetSuite. And also like Oracle NetSuite is it's a popular ERP system within the Amazon sellers community. So we had multiple good references from the companies in the United States, and they were really happy with the solution. So yeah, we got like the systems that we want to integrate. We have the NetSuite on the other side, and the question is like how to bring data, how to get those 15 or 20 or so systems together. After a couple of workshops with the technical team, we decided to go with quite an uncommon, I would say, approach. We decided to integrate everything using Data Cloud, and for Data Cloud and Data Platform as a key component, we chose Snowflake. So we kind of used Snowflake to ingest all of the data from different sources, put into Snowflake, transform like everything in that, prepare like and clean the data for ERP, and then from Snowflake we started like sending the required information, what's needed for the ERP to function, to Oracle NetSuite. So that took some time, but as it was mentioned like in the previous presentations, it's very important to understand the data model of the industry in which you are operating. So let's say in our case, we are like a retail company. We don't have like physical stores, but still, even if you're operating online, so it's very important to understand that you have customer, you have order, you have items. Items, they have their own manufacturers, vendors, and all that stuff. So you need to have this detailed understanding of data model, how your company functions, and then it's like much more easier to ingest the information from different sources. So we build the automated data extraction, testing, and normalization capabilities. By extraction, I mean that basically you have like different sales channels. You have Amazon, you have Shopify, you have Walmart. All of those channels, they have sales orders. But there is like besides the name that it's a sales order, there is nothing in common. Like it's totally different specification of item of the data what you are getting. So you need like to map different fields from different sources into your retail data model, and that's like this process called normalization. So after the mapping, we had let's say the vocabulary, the dictionary established of what we have in our place, in our data platform, and that made things much more easier when we started the integration workshops together with the Staria team, because we kind of knew like if it's a sales order, it's a sales order on NetSuite as well. So like going through those different data points, it like let's say sped up things for us a lot. So together with Staria, we worked to identify the different document types that we wanted to automate. So the ones that we decided to send to NetSuite automatically, they're like in bold color here. So it's every ERP system requires the same. You need to have customer, then you need to have like a sales order, then like inventory fulfillment, then invoice, then return. And if you're trying to break this, let's say, magic composition of sequence, the ERP system breaks down. You need to ensure that all of those documents, they come in the right order, in the right sequence, and that's what we did together with Staria team, during the workshops and during the integrations. technical slide. I'm a CTO, so sorry guys, but this is an example, of how that looked. So we were using JSON as a data format, as a file format that we used for the integration. So it's one of the popular formats. So our team, in the in-house team in Smart Brands Lab, we were responsible for gathering all of that information from those various systems and basically squeezing all of that in one standard format in this JSON structure. And then after we were sending this information to NetSuite, it was already the responsibility of the NetSuite team, of the Staria team, to import that data in JSON format and map it to the data model within NetSuite. So yes, we might send this kind of document that looks a bit spooky, but then when you're opening NetSuite and you're going and finding this order, it looks like a normal order, and that helps a lot. So for that, we developed hourly exchange system. So we are sending the documents pretty much non-stop, every hour, as we are getting them from different sales channels. Maybe one quick piece of advice for those who are working on similar integrations or who are undergoing a similar journey is that what helped us really much a lot, was the shadow launch. And this shadow launch concept is that you have a development version, the sandbox environment of, let's say, NetSuite that you're preparing for the go live. And of course, you're testing, the integrations. You're sending a couple of documents, a couple of customers, a couple of sales orders, and everything works. But shadow launch approach, what we did for ourselves, basically, we started to send all of the production data that we were getting from our sales channels to the NetSuite sandbox. So that immediately generated lots of load. And then we saw mistakes that it was impossible to detect those mistakes by the regular standard testing cycle. So the performance was tested, the data mapping was tested, and the go live event as itself, it went for us really smooth because of this shadow launch. We were in semi-production for a couple of months even before the go live. So whenever possible, try to do this because this helps. So the result is, first of all, what we saw is, as I call this CEO dashboard. It's addictive, actually. You are hitting the refresh button, on the widget, and you see the numbers changing. So finally, after integrating those different sales channels and sending the data, we had a consolidated view of different sales channels. And as I mentioned, as we're conducting business in more than 10 different currencies, it was really cool, finally to have the understanding, how much money do we have in dollars or euro, So another thing is that, as I mentioned, we're using the One World module. So we had this view immediately available to us to filter, and slice and dice everything by just selecting the subsidiary that you need. You can you can check the results at the group level. You can check the results at the European company level. So that was really useful for us. One thing, that we paid lots of attention in our workshop is the data integrity. And whenever you're doing any kind of integration project, the integration will break. There is no way to avoid that. So you need to design your processes, around this concept that integration won't work, and you need to have processes in place how to mitigate those events. And you need to have understanding whether the data that you have in ERP is complete and nothing is missing. So for that, we did learn by mistakes, of course, but within this project, in this we build a dashboard, we build a widget where you can see, are there any orders that are stuck in the import queue, or let's say how many sales orders there are without invoices, and that helps when you're trying to close the financial month, and those digits, if they're not zero, then you need to go and look and work what's the reason why the data is missing, why the orders are missing. So we had a detailed log that the power users, the administrators of NetSuite, the financial department, they can open this dashboard and then see that, let's say, some new tax code appeared, and you need to create the mapping. So as a result, we're live for the last year. So actually, we went go live in last November, so it's more than 12 months. as we are saying within the company, we created just the foundation right now. It's only the first step, the first steps for the company to starting to become mature. And still, even those first steps helped us with some new processes that we introduced, with some financial discipline that we introduced. It's very it's a startup, as I mentioned. So it's not that usual. If you are paying for something with company credit card, not everybody knows that you need to submit the invoice to the financial department. So NetSuite helped to uncover those missing pieces, and we basically we kind of we have those processes in place right now, and we can generate the profit and loss dashboard quite easily and without any struggles, as well as we have the very detailed level of, let's say, order level profitability. So we are no longer analyzing the digits, how much revenue we had yesterday. We can look at the every order level and understand whether that order was profitable for us or no. So that makes and if you have the access to this data, in a timely manner, that makes your decisions in the business much more easier. So as the foundation is there, what's next for us is we're thinking about two components, let's say, that we want to develop on top of NetSuite during the upcoming quarters. One is that we would like to have the finally fully automated approval processes of the purchases, approval process, because we want to have this 4 eyes principle. When somebody wants to purchase something, then it needs to be approved by the CFO or a direct supervisor. So we're planning to use NetSuite as a key component in that. And another thing, it's more connected to the overall strategy of the company, is that by moving towards achieving the operational excellence, we want to have automated workflow orchestration system in place. What does that mean? So imagine it's Monday, 8 a.m. and the employees are coming at work, and then they start looking for work. They're opening emails, they're opening dashboards, they're scrolling through the chats, and they are basically trying to find what's not okay, what digits are not correct. So if we have workflow orchestration system in place, it's the system who looks for those differences. And if we see that there is a drop in revenue or an increase in costs or whatever that we can immediately get from NetSuite, then we are creating an automated task or tasks for the employees who are responsible for that particular area of business. And then if it's Monday 8 a.m., the employee comes to work, it's just already a prepared list of stuff that needs to be checked and then ticked, if it's completed. So in that way, we're aiming to increase the efficiency and increase the, to make the tasks more dynamic. So in both those cases, we're seeing NetSuite as a key component through which we can get the financial data and feed it to this module. Key takeaways or lessons learned or the suggestions, so it's very important. This one is data outlives code. So you need to think beyond the business application. Even if you're working on ERP system project right now, it might be so that after a 5 or 7 years, you will change that system from one ERP to another. But thing is that the customers, your business and your vendors, it might be that they will remain the same. So you need to understand that data will be still there, and you need to understand the data model where it's operating. So you need to have a data strategy in place and not to lose access to your data, especially when now there are lots of cloud applications in use. So whenever you're canceling a subscription that you're paying monthly with a credit card for, let's say, project management or some 3PL vendor, whenever you're canceling the subscription, they're terminating access to you almost immediately. And if you had 2 years of history backlog, you don't have it anymore. So you need to have this data, you cannot lose this data because that's very valuable and might be valuable for further analysis. Another thing is as usual, as with any ERP project, is the managing the expectations. Usually, especially in startups, if the ERP project is the one that is expensive, and you have lots of stakeholders and they have lots of ideas of what this ERP project needs to solve, And and it's impossible to accumulate all of their needs and to launch then ERP in a timely manner. So you need to understand and to communicate that first things first, and that we need to divide the ERP project in different chunks, in different pieces, and the first piece that should be prioritized is the fundamentals. So we need to have the basic accounting in place. You need to have the basic processes in place for the financial department. And even this change, introducing the basic accounting on top of new ERP, it's already a very huge change for the financial team, because it's a new system, new interface. They don't know this, they don't know that. You need to help them. So divide and conquer basically, and move as agile as possible in the ERP project. Well, another thing, it's the communication. So we started the workshops with Staria, I believe, in June. And the go live was in November last year. So within those months, we worked remotely. So we were meeting, as I said, the first time during this event. So we had we had calls, we had different meetings organized using Zoom and that stuff. But one particular way that was really successful, we think, was using Slack for the communication. So it's an instant messaging tool. So because the team was international team from different countries, different time zones. So if you have let's say technical question, one quick technical question, it makes no sense to organize a meeting just to get answer to that question. So you're just writing in Slack that, hey, we need this, we need that, and then whenever the Staria team connects and goes online, they can answer. So this particular way of communication helped us a lot. And we're also using Slack to get the information from NetSuite. So let's say if we are getting new bank statements, we're also sending information from our data platform. We're sending information, first of all, to NetSuite and then to Slack, that, hey, there is a new piece of data that came in from the bank. If somebody's interested in that, you can click here and then the NetSuite opens. So that makes the work much more dynamic and agile. And the thing that helps with the change management a lot, it's the celebrations, So that's the video from the last year when we went live in November. So lots of team members gathered in the office. Of course, not all of them participated in the project, but having this sense of achievement of success, and bringing every employees, all the team together, it really helps for the change management, because then the adoption of the system and the usage of that system, it's let's say much more easier when you're putting some kind of nice events on top of that. So with that, Kitos, thank you. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And if you or your company, if you're undergoing a similar journey or something like that, so feel free to reach out, ask questions, because as I mentioned, we are more than happy to share. So yeah, thanks. I don't know if we have any questions.
Well, we at least have one from the online stream. Question from Patrick: what would you do differently if you did the NetSuite implementation again?
That's a good one. Yeah, there are some modules from some NetSuite vendors that we used, and they're not performing quite so well right now. So the point is that we would do more due diligence on picking the additional modules that we want to have with working on top of NetSuite. Because in this case, the decision was made, too fast, and it was a bit costly for our team to find a solution how to overwork that. So basically, it's the preparation stage. You need to understand your requirements. But working in a startup, it's sometimes very difficult to understand what you want. So you're it's a flying plane. You're changing, the engine for the flying plane. So it makes the things not that easy, but at least it's interesting.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Oh, we have a question back there.
So first of all, I really loved your speech from beginning to end, but I would love to ask a question specifically on data architecture.
Yeah.
I think you made a lot of interesting choices. For example, the way you're using a data lake in between, right? But what I also can imagine is that a lot of customers might not have the right capabilities internally when it comes down the way you look at data and designing data architecture. So as someone that has that capability, how would you advise other organizations to take their first steps in creating good data architecture?
Yeah, again, very good question. The thing that I would recommend for such organizations is to start building their knowledge around data as soon as possible. Because you cannot imagine your business 5, 9, 10 years from now without having the general capabilities of how to work with data, how to treat data as an asset, and how to use the data in your daily activities without a team in place. So, you know, it might be internal team, it might be like consultants, but you need to have someone within the company who acts like as an ambassador, let's say, and who preaches the data strategy and who is like interested in that, not just like, you know, citing and quoting some articles, but who is really deep into that. So my advice is like to hire such person or to promote such person from the company, find it like within the company as soon as possible, because that will help not only in the ERP project, but in all the projects that will happen in that company in the upcoming years.
Thank you. Just a question on that. So you mentioned you either using consultants or internal teams on that. Would your personal preference be internal promotions, or do you think you can be as effective just hiring consultants and looking at your data?
In-house is always better because you have the understanding of the business. The people who are working like for quite some time in the organization, they know ins and outs of how everything is happening. And for the consultants, they have the theoretical model of the industry, let's say retail, but then like there are no two similar companies. So if you have the possibility to grow someone from within the company, that would be the choice.
Thank you.
The microphone is on its way.
Yes, it's on its way.
Thank you. So maybe a similar question to that, like it was talk about the data architecture, but how about the integration itself? Would you prefer like own build solution or something from the market like MuleSoft or something? What's the pros and cons?
Well, in this case, we had the opportunity, let's say, to use the internal team as Smart Brands Lab. Like it's a part of larger group. So we have an internal team who has the experience for the integration. So it basically was a very easy decision to go and build everything ourselves, because then we are able to maintain this. Then with some kind of connector that you can get from the market, it might be faster, but then like it might be also more expensive in the long run after, you know, the initial investment phase. And, you know, and it might be that it won't be as flexible as you might need. So we also looked into some connectors around like in the NetSuite ecosystem for some integrations, but yeah, not all of them can fill our needs, and not all of them can be customized. So in some cases, it just made more sense for us to move on with our like internal team and to build those integrations ourselves. As a bonus, you know, after we integrated those systems, at least to the data platform ourselves, we connected the BI tool also to the same. So now we have the single source of truth through which we're analyzing data from both like ERP and for BI. So it's like in one place, all of the data is accumulated.
Makes sense, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.